Welcome back, Addicts, to another comic-related video. I'm Josh, and today we'll be talking about The Walking Dead issue 181, Together Strong. Such a simple title for this issue, but I really do enjoy it, as well as the cover art for this issue. It looks really badass, showing off Mercer and the princess. I'll probably actually put a picture of it in the thumbnail because I really like this one. For those of you that are new to watching our comic related stuff, I'm going to be doing this a little bit differently than some of the others. I have the whole issue popped up on my phone here, and what I'll probably do is scroll through and kind of recap what has happened in the issue and give my thoughts along the way, and then we might do a little bit of a prediction type talk later on in the video. So starting right off, we're continuing the Governor Pamela's visit to Alexandria and the other communities. We've had a little bit of a time lapse from the other issue. The last issue, it left off with Rick and Pamela talking in Alexandria. And in the very first panel of this new issue, we see them enjoying the view at Oceanside. Which at first I was thinking, is this Alexandria? Because we left off in Alexandria, and then it wasn't until later on the issue they're saying that they're on the outskirts of Oceanside, and I was like, oh, okay. I was like, I was like, Kirkman, I don't know what you're thinking, but Alexandria's never been by the ocean. But this made sense, and I think this is the first big look that we see at Oceanside, and it's got a church, and it looks like it's kind of like a little pier. Community, but they have a lot of buildings, and I was just admiring it because I don't think we had seen it before in this depth. But we get the governor and Rick talking, going back and forth. They seem like they're in a lot better position than they were when they left off at the last issue. And Mercer and her second in command, I can't remember his name, but he's the Boulder guy that kind of been given smirks to Rick, but I feel like he's kind of a little bit protective of the governor. Maybe he likes her in a certain way, and that's why he acts like this. But just a small little peek into what his character might be like later down the line. We get bumped back to the Commonwealth with Michonne and her daughter, and basically telling her daughter that she has accepted the job being an attorney at the Commonwealth, which I'm not really shocked that Michonne is staying at the Commonwealth, and because I mean obviously her daughter's there, but I feel like it's moving at a very fast pace. Now, granted, we don't know how much time is lapsing, so it could be weeks on their front while they're just a couple moments they're there. But I feel like everything normally passes in real time, so it just seems like a little bit fast. Moving on, we get to a peek at the hillside with the family that was taken in that by Maggie that had been with the Whisperers previously, but not very long. We get a little bit of peek of what they're like, and there's this bit of dialogue where Maggie is sitting inside talking to Jesus and Aaron, and talking about how these people seem like they're good, that they're fine, we can let them in. But she's also asking Aaron and Jesus if Beta is really dead and gone, and they said, yeah, as long as there wasn't anyone's out there, we got them all. And I don't know, maybe this is just me overthinking it, but I feel like this line of dialogue that Jesus says is a possible hint or Easter egg that we may be seeing some more of different factions of the Whisperers later on. Now, granted, I don't think that really fits into the story, but it's something that seems a little bit too highlighted, or maybe it's just out of place in this. Now, granted, this could be, Kirkman just nodding to the fans like, yeah, I know it was quick, probably not what you were expecting. Which, if that's all it is, I'm fine with that. I would say the Whisperers were such a cool enemy faction that I would love to see more of them. But if we just leave it where it was, I mean, it's over and gone with, so there's really no reason to bring them back unless they just want to do something crazy and awe-shocking. We flash back to Alexandria. We get a little bit of interaction between the princess and Rick, and she has some weird dialogue. With Negan, it's she has that Negan-esque dialogue, and Negan is one of those that his dialogue makes sense. I mean, it might be elaborate and over the top comedy, but with the princess, it's just weird sometimes. Like she's almost got some kind of screw loose in her head from being uh, isolated for too long. But it's kind of a nice little change up in the world of The Walking Dead, so I don't mind it too much. I do get with gripes from fans about her character, but I think they've toned it down enough to where it's not as of an eyesore, I guess you could say. Um, but we get this confrontation with a horde of walkers, and this is partially due to um, Dwight's actions of pulling the military to follow them to keep an eye on the visitors. But we get to see Mercer and the princess in action, and this is where the cover is inspired from. And I do really like the scene. It's got some great panels of them in the horde, and also with Rick on a horse being badass. Uh, but we get this kind of interaction with Mercer between Rick being like, he's not going to do anything that's going to endanger the governor. But Rick's like, hey, if you don't help us move the herd, then that is endangering her because she's in Oceanside. Which part of this conflict, the governor is kind of a dick with most things that she does because they have a system for evading the horde or relocating it, and their system's working fine until a few start to straggle away from their redirection because Pamela orders her guard of the carriage driver to get in closer to see how they handle things. And with those breaking away, it causes some to get a hold of Princess's horse, and she gets knocked down. And then that's when Mercer has to jump in, and they're fighting away, as well as another Commonwealth guard that is making use of his armor, which I'm really curious to see if they're going to play it to where the armor has no weak points against walkers, because he seems like he just flat out walked into the herd and he didn't get bit whatsoever. So that's kind of interesting to see. It makes sense since they're in all body armor, but I'm just curious to see how that plays out later on. But yeah, we get a few remarks back and forth, yelling at each other. Luckily, Eugene's group is able to come in. The militia that he had following them is coming in and mows them all down. Everyone's safe. Nobody gets hurt. There is this line of dialogue that I love with Rick, and Rick's got a good point. I don't knack him for saying this. He makes the comment to Dwight, good work, but if I noticed that the people that you took to follow us were the people that were supposed to be on watch duty, and if you would have let them where they were, none of this may have even happened. So I think the actions of Dwight fit within his character. He's a bit hot-headed and in the spur of the moment reactions, but he's trying to do good by Rick, try to make up for what shit he has done. And so I don't knack him for that, but I do agree that he's seeming not to use his head a whole lot, especially in these circumstances where it's key, because I feel like this has the potential to come back and bite them later, especially with how much Pamela is focusing on how well they, have kind of misdirects or their leadership and what their abilities are and how efficiently they can handle things and just basically what the capabilities of these people are. And even she says that she's pretty impressed by the whole ordeal. But we get this, the issue ends right about here where we get a dialogue between the governor and Mercer, and basically saying, she's like, good look, Mercer, you did an excellent job taking out all those people. And he's like, well, instead of gratitude, I really would like an apology, because if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have had to risk my life. And she was like, oh, I just wanted you to demonstrate who you are so they know not to mess with us. Or something to the extent of that, which I'm really curious to see where they lead this. Because again, the Commonwealth, I don't feel like they're a group that just comes in and is like a Negan, takes over the group and forces them to do what they want, or comes in, kills everyone, just takes what they want. I feel like, if anything, Pamela just wants to see who is all there, see who's worthwhile taking, or offer them a place at the Commonwealth, and then, you know, just basically show her might to where she can stop any confrontation. Kind of a sizing up type thing. And but I don't know. We can see later on, but there's just a lot of little subtle hints here and there that I'm really interested to see if those amount to anything, or if they're going to lead in a direction that I'm thinking of. I think for right now it's still too early to tell because we don't know a lot about the Commonwealth. I think once Michonne starts getting into her lawyer job, we'll be able to see a little bit more of how the upper class people and the lower class people work in the Commonwealth and how their relationships are. I think Mercer and the governor is a good look into that, because Mercer, even though he's high up on the security detail, he is still considered low compared to the governor. I mean, she talks down on them all the time. And like I did another video, but for the previous issue, but unfortunately I'm not going to upload that. There was just too many problems with it. But in that video, I had talked that maybe they're going to go the route of a espionage type deal where they start integrating a little bit more with the Commonwealth, and they start seeing the problems, and maybe they start getting people over to their side, not taking over, but just getting people over to their side. And then they get to the point where maybe they'll be like, hey, we're going to take all these people, we're going to go back to where we were, and you just need to leave us alone. And then maybe that's when conflict starts to occur. But honestly, I feel like if they go that route, it would be a fresh take, but I feel like at its core, it's the same. So I don't really know. I mean, and when I say the same as some other confrontations we've got with different groups before, which I'm hoping they do something unique and different. Kirkman's got a wide range of possibilities where this can go. I haven't really seen a certain one that I think they're going to go with, but I think it's really curious. And I'm especially looking forward to if this reference to the Whisperers was just, tying up, the characters realizing and acknowledging the fact that the Whisperers are dead and gone, and then confirmation to the reader that, there's no more Whisperers, don't expect them. Or if this is more of a subtle tease for way down the line, seeing a separate division of Whispers. I think it's too early to say. Personally, I think there's going to be some issues if they do that route, but I don't know. I'm up for anything as long as it's done well and it's well thought out and the continuity is good. But let me know what you guys think of the issue. Did you like it? For me, I would say this was a very good issue. There was a lot going on. I love it whenever they go back and forth between all the communities. It really gives a sense of striving forward in the story when they touch on everybody. Plus, there's a lot of, since we got so many storylines now, it's almost something that you have to do in order to feel like you're giving attention to everybody. And even when we have issues like this where we touch on most of the locations, we still have a lot of storylines that we don't see for months. But overall, I would say that this was, it was a very good issue. I don't know if I would say it was great, but I really did like it. And I definitely would recommend that you guys pick this one up to read. I would say this one was probably worth buying it if you could sooner when it released. But these stories anymore are really good to read when you get a bundle of them together. But if you're getting to this part in the story, I think it's starting to pick up a little bit from here. But anyway, guys, that's all that we're gonna talk about in this video. I'll see you guys for the next issue of The Walking Dead, as I am planning on doing reviewing for this series going on and for the foreseeable future. If you guys want me to look at some of the older issues, like maybe reviewing the compendium or going out of some of my favorite moments of the comic, just let me know down in the comment box. I'd be glad to take any suggestions that you guys have. So yeah, just keep open for our other videos. We're on all of the social medias. We also have our podcast on SoundCloud, and you can check out our main site at addictinformative.wordpress.com. But anyway, guys, that'll conclude everything in this video. Later, addicts.